it's the Mad Queen. Welcome into the Queen's Lair. I was lucky enough to get all 3 of the new heroes that have been released into the game, including Poros, the legendary, as you can see here, and then there are 2 more epics, Timmons and Sacred Windstrex. So Timmons is here. He honestly kind of looks like the Nautilus guy from SpongeBob SquarePants, if you know what I'm talking about. I think it's the SpongeBob SquarePants movie with David Hasselhoff. I don't know, but that's kind of what he reminds me of. And then the Sacred Windstrex. I have not read any of their abilities whatsoever. I don't know what these guys do, but I did go ahead. As you can tell, I leveled them. And I also went ahead and did all of their glyphs and ability upgrades. This is really so that I could do more testing after this first look video on each of these heroes. But I do like to save that first look at these guys to read what they're going to do and make my opinions for whenever I make these videos specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and read over all of these guys. We're going to talk about where we think they're going to be good. And also, there are some hints being released here. If you pay attention, I cannot say specifically, but you should definitely read into the heroes that are being released, especially Poros. Why are they releasing a hero like this? So I want you guys to keep that in mind. And I also quickly, before I'm going to get into his abilities, I will say, for the first time ever, the developers gave the content creators a vote on which hero would be released into the game. We did have a few options of different heroes. We kind of knew for the most part which element they were going to be from. So water, wood, fire. We also knew what they were going to be intended for as well. So I don't know his skills, but I do know what he is meant for. If you're wondering, of course, how I know, and I'm asking you to kind of look into it, and I haven't read his skills, that's why. I did vote for this hero specifically, and the amount of content creators that did vote for him overall was really big. This is a hero I would recommend that you do try to summon for if you've been saving up your limited summons. He is going to be somebody that is going to be really helpful. Again, I can't say why, just trust me. If you've been watching, I have been giving some updates in my Discord as well, telling people don't spend your energy, save it, because something is coming in the next week or 2, and you're going to want to have energy for that. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this. As far as his trait, Annihilation, it's an aura, okay? Poros increases all team members' damage against enemies below 50% health by 30%. That's really big on its own without being ascended. And then, of course, after ascension, when a team member attacks enemies below 50% health, Poros increases their damage by 30% and launches a joint attack with the special ability. So you're going to get extra turns that are procced with Poros from your team members taking extra turns. I am curious. I think I already know the answer to this, but where they put his ascension, yeah, it is Ascension 5. I hate that. It's really hard for most people to achieve those traits and to be able to unlock them because they are legendaries and you have to end up getting 5 more copies afterwards. I think in general though, he's going to work really well just with his basic trait aura without the ascension. Of course, it will be nice for him to get that joint attack. Regardless, this is really good. As long as the damage is there, right? It is going to depend on his base stats. And I'll look at those here in a second after we finish looking at his abilities. So his first basic, Ravenous Bite, deals 100% damage to one enemy and applies attack down for 1 round. Furious Maw, his special, which is what he uses for his counterattack if you're able to get his trait unlocked. This deals 100% damage to one enemy and heals the team member with the lowest health for 50% of the damage dealt. Damage scales with the enemy's lost health. And lastly, his ultimate gold shower. Let's keep in mind that the people that are coming up with these names are not from this area, so I think that's a very bold and an interesting choice for a name on the ultimate, the gold shower, but okay. It deals 200% damage to one enemy and applies increased damage taken to them for 2 turns. Damage scales with the enemy's lost health. If the enemy's health is below 50%, doubles the lost health based damage and applies increased damage taken to the enemy for 2 turns. This also has the potential to do huge amounts of damage. And again, if it's only targeting one enemy, why are they calling it a shower? I don't know. That if you know what I'm talking about, that's what I'm just saying. It is a very interesting choice as far as the name here. But of course, anyways, I don't want to keep talking about that. I think that as long as the damage is there, we're going to be able to get quite a bit of utility out of this guy. When I read through all of these skills, specifically, I'm thinking about bosses. He is going to be able to target bosses and do damage singularly to enemies that have a lot of overall health in general. And not even that, I think the potential for him to even do damage to super tanky heroes in PvP could also be really good as well. I think it's interesting they have put him as a water element hero. Of course, if he would have been fire, he probably could have been a very good counter to one-shot Mythasia, but that is, not the case because it's not the right affinity. So moving on, I want to go ahead and take a look at his base stats. We have 1200 attack. That's okay. Honestly, that's not very good, especially for a legendary hero. I would expect really around 1400 or so. Health is 4700. That's not bad. 464 defense. That's okay. 95 speed, which is low, and then 8% crit rate. They have come up with a hero that potentially has a very, very good kit and has the potential to do a lot of damage. They get, in my opinion, I think they get a little scared. They don't want heroes to be super crazy good. So they've put a really good kit on this hero, but they've kind of missed the point on his base stats. I think that his base attack really should be higher because, first of all, that's what his damage is based off of. And if they want this guy to be really good and to be useful, because look at this kit. Honestly, this is an excellent kit. They're going to have to put some more base attack into him. So I'm hoping that they will do that. And of course, I am going to be doing some testing over him after this video with the other heroes as well. Next is going to be the guy from SpongeBob SquarePants, Timmons. Timmons is a water element hero epic. Where's he get his ascension? It's ascension 5 as well. Let's go ahead and read it. His trait, Gallant Assault. When an ally attacks an elite or boss and there are more than 3 enemies alive, Timmons launches a bonus attack with his ultimate ability. Okay, let's read that again. When an ally attacks an elite hero, is that what it's saying? Or a boss, and there are more than 3 enemies alive, he'll basically use his ultimate ability. And then whenever it's ascended, Timmons' damage against enemies at an elemental disadvantage is increased by 30%. So when I read this, damage against enemies at an elemental disadvantage. So I think that they just put a really complicated way of saying that Timmons is going to do 30% more damage to heroes he has an advantage on element over. So that's going to be an extra 30% damage to fire heroes. His first ability, basic, is Anchor Sweep. Deals 100% damage to one enemy and gains attack up for 1 turn. Next is Rotting Rust. His special deals 180% damage to an enemy and applies attack down and defense down for 2 turns. And then his ultimate, Marine Fury, deals 100% damage to all enemies. Damage is reduced by 30% per additional cast within the same round, capped at 3 stacks. The only way I think that this would be good is if he truly is able to deal a really solid amount of damage. If not, then you're just going to be taking away and doing less and less damage whenever it's not potentially very good damage in the first place. So again, it's going to depend on how hard he can hit. But his base stats, he has a little over 1,000 attack, not bad for an epic. Health, 3,900, that's really not bad either. 407 defense, 86 speed, 8% crit rate. So whenever I look at this guy, I am going to assume that he could probably be good in the guild boss, potentially, but I think he may also be helpful with bosses, right? A lot of times, whenever they do come out with heroes, they usually say, except for bosses, it excludes bosses. So whenever they're going to say it's for bosses, I think that's obviously a hint that they've made him for a boss. So, and then lastly, we have, where's she at? Sacred Windstrex. And she looks so nice. Honestly, I love it. I think she looks really, really awesome. Oh, man, they could have made this a skin for the normal Windstrex, but it is kind of nice to get a sacred version of her. Windstrex is one of my favorite heroes in the game because she's really simple, she's easy to get, and you can use her in quite a few places. So hopefully the sacred Windstrex is just as good, if not hopefully better, since it is a light hero than the normal one. Her ascension is, oh, you actually get it on the second one. Okay. So, Sacred Heart, which is her trait, at the start of a wave, Sacred Windstrex applies shield to all allies for 2 turns. Shield strength scales with Sacred Windstrex max health. At the end of a wave, she increases the duration of all team members' positive effects by 1 turn. After you have it ascended, it says, at the end of the wave, she increases the duration of all. Oh, and she resets all of her ability cooldowns on top of doing this. Her basic ability, Holy Sanction, deals 100% damage to an enemy and applies defense down for 2 turns. If the enemy is affected by defense down already, it applies attack down for 2 turns. I wonder if that means if it's already, or if she lands the defense down, then she'll automatically put attack down. Of course, that's going to have to be something that will be seen through some testing. And then her special, Rejuvenation, heals an ally for 30% of their max health, removes 1 negative effect on them, and applies defense up to all team members for 2 turns. Cleansing Wave is her ultimate. It heals all team members for 30% of their max health, removes 1 negative effect on each, and applies damage up to them for 2 turns. Okay, this is honestly it's kind of a nice take, and it's always good to get more heroes that have cleansing and healing. Plus, she is putting up damage up, she's giving defense up, and she's able to put some debuffs as well on the boss, or not on the boss, on the enemy or whoever she's attacking. So as far as Sacred Windstrex goes, I think that she looks like she's going to be really good for the Void Tower. And if you don't know, oh, I apologize. I don't know if I was allowed to say this or not. And it doesn't matter. A lot of people don't actually watch to this point, so not many will know this anyways. But I'm sorry, Ace, if I wasn't supposed to say this. If you don't know, they are doing a rework on the Mythic Void Tower. It's going to be a bit easier than what it currently is to reach and obtain. So I'm thinking that she is going to be a pretty good key component or character to help in that potentially. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Are you guys excited about these heroes? Are you kind of just like, could be better, could be worse? Are you going to try to summon for them? Let me know what you guys think. Also, I am going to be doing testing on all of these heroes live on Twitch throughout this week. I wish I could tell you that I have some kind of normal streaming schedule. I do not. But I will be doing a few different streams this week, specifically testing these guys out. Join in on that. I will be doing giveaways during my live, so make sure that you don't miss out on that. Also, if you're a new player or an experienced player, join my growing Discord community. It's an excellent place for beginners to ask for advice and for expert players to help share some advice. The link for that is going to be in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.